Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. We are continuing in the series all around transforming yourself from the inside out, the Neurohacker series around training your brain to transform your life and your business. We've had some amazing guests on talking about different things like brainwave stabilization and with Dr. Woods moving through trauma. I mean, we've had some amazing guests. I've been looking forward to this interview today for a long time. Ben Cote from Neurohacker is here. We are fellow Neurohackers from a different place. We come at it from a different modality, but we 100% are in alignment that if you neurohack your brain, everything falls in line for you. Your health, your wealth, your energy, your optimism, all of it. So Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I would love for you to do a little bit more of an introduction, because one of the things I said to my tribe is that the richness of your research, the richness of all of the things and all the collaborations you've done in the world, I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself in that realm.
Sure. Thank you. No, I just wanted to pick up on one of the things you said that I fully appreciate and love about neurohacking and biohacking, all these things, is that there's so many different avenues and translations into it. So it's so important. And this is one of the really cool things I love about the work that we do and love when I talk to people is hearing their stories and finding what brought them into this arena of research for themselves. One of the really cool things about this is the self-improvement, improving your life and improving your brain and body and all these things. It's once you get that sense of I'm in control of my health and my well-being, and when I can make a positive change in some area of my life, and you get that click where it's just like that aha, it just happens.
Yeah.
You then get that power and that realization of, oh, if this works here, what else is possible? And it gets you down that rabbit hole of, if I can take control of my diet and start to feel better in my body, or if I can start to take care of my mind and meditation, start to feel better there, the entire world just becomes open and possible for you. And this is one of the things I really love about neurohacking and biohacking and the research and the things that we're doing is just opening up that possibility for people everywhere. And again, there's no right way, there's no one answer, there's no one thing. It's whatever brings you into this field of research. And I hear different stories from all different people, whether it's diet, whether it's working out, whether it's meditation, whether it's, finding the right technology and tools or supplements that work for you, that just give you that feeling of control, which we have, but we also often forget. And we just don't realize how much we're in control of that. And this is particularly extremely important in today's age of just the chaos in the world that we're at right now. Like the world has changed, and it's utterly new. I'm coming to you live from my kitchen right now as everyone's working from home and things like that. My kids are at my mom's right now, but I have 2 kids at home now, and we're trying to figure all that juggling out. But one of the phenomenal things that this virus and this new change in our world has revealed to us was you are in control of your life and you are in control of your health and well-being. And this is just so important and so timely now that especially people are sitting at home and just not knowing what the world looks like and what the world's going to look like and what their day is going to look like. And it's extremely stressful as well. Like there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty around this. But one of the things I think is truly important for people to really grasp and get a hold of, especially if you're sitting at home working now, or even if you're sitting at home and not working, if you're out of work or something like that, is realizing the importance of that you are in control of your life, that you are in control of your health and well-being, and that you can set the tone for all of that. And this is it's crucial for, especially as we get up and we just don't know what to do with our day and we don't know how to start it and things like that. I love what's going on now, and not for the chaos and all the things happening, but just for the realization that this is waking up in a lot of people of how much they're in control of themselves, how they can schedule their day, how they can set their health and intentions and all that stuff. So this is just something I love about it.
Yeah, it's really highlighting right now because people are being forced to slow down. We're evaluating things more like our health and our business and the unknown and the anxiety that comes from it. But yet I've also seen as this pendulum goes of people starting to say, okay, well, why not me? And why can't I? And so it's really good that we get these pauses. I mean, I'm keeping a journal of all the positives, right? So my mind's staying in the right place. Yeah. And this is one of them where we're really reevaluating, is this how I want to live my life? Yeah. And from that, question. The power of questions changes the power of your life. So, and I know Ben and I both agree that you can, with the concept of neurohacking, and we'll dive into what that is. My tribe, it knows it well because we do it from like more of a brain-based synaptic place where we do it through my neurocoaching model, and we work on synaptic pruning and building new pathways in the brain for success and removing the toxic thoughts that are there. And that's all brain-based work. So I believe, and I would have to ask Ben, how do you feel like the multi-layer approach is so strong? So Ben, I take some of Ben's supplements, and he'll talk about that in a minute. So the neurotropics and all those kind of things, the health side of things, the mental side of things, all the things, if you layer them, you do start to see just this, I call it that compound interest that happens in your brain, where it just starts magnifying, amplifying, speeding up. And it's pretty powerful. You can't control who buys your products. You can't control what the government's going to do right now. You can't control the virus, other than staying indoors, please. Yep. Yes. But other than that, and we all have different opinions there, but we do have the ability to fully optimize our brain. So let's jump in. Let's have you define what is neurohacking mean to you? And what is your viewpoint on it?
We grabbed on and coined the term neurohacker and started with our supplement lines with Qualia to focus specifically on the brain. And one of the things you mentioned was just all the layers of stacks. And one of the other nice positive things that has come out of this time and this things, not only is the pause that you mentioned, which is incredibly important, but that pause and that realization of all these things that used to be rules in the way we lived our life are no longer there. Like things kind of broke down pretty quickly, which is kind of fascinating. And people are like, oh, this isn't how things have to be. And it kind of give us a pause and a moment to reflect and question things that we thought in that. One of the reasons we started with the mind and with Qualia was the mind just affects so much throughout the body, but everything is connected. So your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, all these things are crucial. And the other, just to step back again, one of the other things that this virus and this time helped unlock and reveal for us is how connected we all are to one another with the staying inside and things like that. And this is true with each other, and it's true with ourselves, like how connected all the different parts of our body are. So as we focused on the mind, it's still connected to your body. It's still connected to your gut, your sleep, like all these things in who you are and that make up how you live and how you show up in the world are connected. But the mind is one of those things that just starts with and leads so much of your life, how you're thinking, what you're setting out to accomplish. All of these things start with the ideas in your brain, how you think about things, how you talk to yourself. And we saw such a dramatic need in our world for people wanting a solution like this and turning to off-label drugs and solutions to get by that have these terrible, horrible side effects. So they'd get the energy, the focus, and the drive that they wanted, but it would come at the cost of depersonalization or losing their empathy, losing their creativity, and then being dependent and downregulated on all these things. So the cost is significant. And the people that were wanting these things and taking these products were usually at the higher upper echelons of finance and business and college and things like that. So we're training and building this whole group of leaders in this world to do more and be more, but at the cost of robbing them of caring for others, caring for themselves, robbing them of their creativity. And so many were looking for a healthier solutions. This is why we started with Qualia as our first product line. Just we saw there was a massive need and massive desire for a healthy product that could provide these things, because our world was and is still so demanding. Like we've not yet evolved to the place where our brains and bodies are being demanded of 12 hours plus of cognitive focus on our work and all these things that our modern lifestyle was asking of us. And it was just pushing us to exhaustion. So this is another good thing, as you mentioned, this pause, like the world kind of needed a pause. Like it's having a dramatic effect on our economy, but this is kind of exposing some of the breaking points of things that were already broken in our world that we needed to address. Yeah. But the world massively needed this pause and this rest. So I'm hoping that tremendous health optimization can come out of this time when people can slow down for a minute, hopefully turn off the news and turn off social media for a while and focus on really taking ownership of themselves, what they're wanting in their lives, what they're thinking about, and how to control that. And then you, as you mentioned, you get into those virtuous cycles where you start to build on that. And again, it just starts with a decision in your thinking, in your mind, in your brain of, what do I want for myself? What do I want for my life? And having that choice, having that decision, having those thoughts. And then, as you mentioned, the synaptic pruning and those things, all the synaptogenesis and neurogenesis and things like that, the rewiring of your brain, the rewiring of your habits is just built through you making decisions and choosing these paths to build and to work and to rewire. So the more times you do them, the more that rewiring happens, the more that things come. And again, this is all, it starts in the brain, but it's all dependent on all those other layers. It's dependent on your body and your system and your sleep and your relationships and all these other things in your life.
I love it. And I trained my thinking to try to have Ben and I have a conversation that doesn't end up being like a scientific journal, because I could easily go there with him, but I'm going to not do that for your sake, for my listeners' sake. I love that you talked about this. And of course, we have to give the disclaimer, which Ben does all the time. This is not medical advice. This is not psychological advice. If you need mental health or physical help, go get your doctors. FDA is not involved here. So know that. But the FDA isn't involved in carrots either. So I'm just saying. and that's a good thing. If it's an organic farmer, I should say. So let's break down nootropics as a whole. You started talking about one of your flagship products and kind of how that's helped, especially entrepreneurs. And most of my listeners are entrepreneurs. So the focus and drive and all those things that you're speaking about is a big thing. What's broken down in somebody who's going for the hustle and the coffee and the Red Bulls and trying to drive that way, trying to drive through the energy of push versus a truly optimized brain? And how do nootropics, like what is the mechanism that's going on? Let's get a little bit into the weeds of like, how do these things actually work and why is that helpful?
Sure. Yeah, and I love the notion of trying to keep it simple. One of the challenges we have, that I specifically have at Neurohacker, is translating the work our research team, our doctors, our scientists do, to something people that they can understand and get, because they do amazing research. And I love digging into the weeds of that. But then talking to people who don't have that background, it's challenging. And you want to get it to where the rubber meets the road, to where like, what is this doing and how does it work? So your brain processes cognitive function. You know how to focus. You know how to do all these things. Like these things happen naturally, and they happen through the different pathways in the brain, through your diet, through the nutrition you bring in. One of the challenges is, and especially in America, we're overworked, underpaid, underslept, and stressed out, and we're not eating, and we eat a crappy diet for a lot of Americans. So getting your diet correct, getting your sleep in line, like these are the foundations of neurohacking that you absolutely must do, should do, before you consider supplements and optimization. That said, the supplements can do massive things, just because our nutrition and diet system, even if you are trying really hard to eat very healthy, our soil is just over-farmed, the nutrients are just not in there, so we're just not getting what we need, that our body is asking for, to demand of this. So you can take supplements like this to provide your system with the ingredients, with the chemicals, with the things it needs to process those things in the cognitive pathway. The challenge of this is doing so in a way that doesn't hijack or override your system, but supports the pathways. And this is really where the secret sauce of Neurohacker and our products come from. We have a notion of complex systems design, or complex science, to where we try to understand the body knows how to do what it needs to do. It knows how to naturally regulate these things. We want to support those pathways and how it naturally does it, not hijack it or override it with single ingredients or a small number of ingredients at high doses. This is why our products have usually very large number of ingredients, because we design them to synergistically work together with one another to support that system. So it's not your body's doing the work, we're just helping supply the system. And we're doing it in such a way that we're designed to increase the capacity of the system and increase the resilience. So one of the really nice things about quality of mind is the longer you take it, the better it gets, and the longer you take it, the less you need of it. So it's really working to design your system so it keeps your system upregulated to do the work. So the recommended dose of quality of mind is 7 capsules, which is a lot. When I first started, Neurohacker was not a fan of swallowing capsules and pills, and I've quickly been cured of that with all the products I get to try and take. But with the 7 capsule dose right now, I take 1 or 2 capsules, maybe once or twice a week if I take any at all. So I've been on it for a while. So it's the design of our products and the design of what we do is to work alongside and support your system to do the work that it needs to do, that you want it to do, but not hijack or override it. So we're working on those pathways in the brain, the acetylcholine pathway, the dopamine pathway, all these things that upregulate and increase executive function. So focus, motivation, drive. For me, the 2 biggest things that I got out of Qualia when I first started taking it, and there's a whole host of effects due to its complex nature, just because when you upregulate and affect these things, that you're not just, who you are is not just your brain, and who you are is not just your body, and who you are is not just your focus. You're a combination of all these things of your body, the complex system, the pathways, and then the functions that they do. The thing that I noticed immediately when I took it day 1, week 1, was motivation and lack of procrastination. Like it just lowered that hesitancy to take action, to get started, just wipe that out. And I could literally feel that melting away, and I could pick up on a project, have all the energy, drive, and focus to work on it, complete it, put it down, move on to the next one without any hesitation in between. So task switching was also amazing. The next thing that really kicked in for me in like month 3 for me, and this is the thing that women tell us they love most about our products, is the emotional resiliency piece. And for them, they describe it to us, or to me, I hear the stories as it levels out their emotional roller coaster. For me, that showed up as things that used to annoy me, distract me, piss me off, and take me out of my work now show up and just roll off my back. Like I could have that moment of pause to choose how to reflect and react to the situation, and whether to give it my time and energy, or if I can stay focused on what I want to stay focused on. And that just kept me in the zone of putting what's important in front of me. So whether that's the work that I was doing or friends and family that I was with, like being present with those around me. And that was just another like massive game changer in my life.
Yeah. Wow. What you mentioned the dopamine pathways. What other neurochemical pathways are the products working to upregulate?
Sure. So for Qualia, the one specifically, dopamine, acetylcholine is another one. The choline pathways these are all the things that process executive function. So your focus, your drive, your motivation, your energy, your attention, all these things that you need to have and operate to get your work done, to do what's in front of you. And again, all these things are interconnected with one another. So we wanted to work with ingredients and the research that we found that helps support these pathways to do what they need to do at certain levels of the pathways too, because there's different, to kind of get into the little weeds, there's different parts of the pathways that each of these cycles have, and you can affect one early on to support the ingredients that it needs, and there's other places in the pathways where you can recapture some of those things that are lost to salvage pathways and recuperate those to get those back into the system. So there's all these different places and timings of things that you want to have in the right places, in the right order, so you have a system that's, again, in balance. So you're not hijacking and overriding it, because when you have other drugs that perform some of these things, they do it by flooding the dopamine pathway is one that provides attention and focus.
And what would be one of those examples of those kind of products? Like what's a mainstream, just so people can start to put it together?
So Adderall is a big one.
Yeah. So
Adderall is a big one that just floods your system with dopamine, and your system goes, great, I got all this dopamine, I can focus, and you feel great. And then your system goes, great, I got all this dopamine, I don't have to start making it anymore. And you stop, and your system stops producing dopamine because it's flooded exogenously into the system. Yeah. And then you become dependent and downregulated on it. So as you continue taking this product, your system continues to lower and lower the dopamine that your system makes, and you're now dependent on the system. And then coming off of it is and I, knock on wood, I've never had to do this, but I continually talk to people that are looking for healthy alternatives to the medications that they've been prescribed. And I hear horror stories of how hard it is for people to come off these things. Because once your system is in that downregulated, hijacked state, coming off of that is not an easy task, and it's hard. And I hear
one of the roller coasters that I see, which I think is more common for entrepreneurs, is they will upregulate with massive levels of caffeine and then downregulate with massive levels of alcohol. Yep. Right. And this is in no way judgment of anybody, but I know I fell into that at one point in time. I'm like, okay, I got to get more coffee. And then I would get through the day, and then I'd be like, oh, I gotta got to come down from this. Okay, let me have my glass of wine. And before you know it, it's not just like every once in a while, it's like every single day. And so I had to, when I started this journey years back, I had to like really look at that and think about that from a neuro standpoint of what I was doing to my brain. So are those additional, I don't want to call them drugs because they're accepted in our culture, but are those things that you're also seeing a difference, that you don't need those things as much? You can choose them, but you don't need them as much?
Absolutely. Yeah. Caffeine, alcohol, all those things are highly used, and you could say abused and things like that. And again, caffeine is the big one that's a lot of people never think about or consider it a drug, because it's on every corner at Starbucks, and it's what we do. And we start our day with a cup of coffee, and we have 2 or 3 or 4 to get through the day and do it. It goes like that. And then, at the end of the day, you're jittery, you're hyper, you're crawling out of your skin, you need something to bring you down. These are all things that people are trying to looking to do more and get through their day. And then there's a good reason for it, because it works. Like, people feel there's a real reason. There's a million memes of "don't talk to me until I had my morning coffee." And
that's right.
Like, people feel better and they feel more like themselves because they're alert and they're oriented and they're not this groggy, waking up tired kind of mode. The challenge is, again, finding that balance. And what we found with people that love their coffee and drink a ton of caffeine is when they try Qualia, most people that are heavy coffee drinkers still take Qualia with their morning cup of coffee, but they don't need a second, third, or fourth cup throughout the day to get them through the lasting all-day energy. This is one of the other things that I truly loved about Qualia when I first started taking it was, we recommend taking it early in the morning just because it's all-day energy. And I would take it, I'd feel great all day, and I'd come home and I wasn't mentally exhausted. I didn't have to sit on the couch and just like decompress and just like wind down, because I was just like so drained. I would get a ton of stuff done, but I would come home and I could be present with my family. I could play with my kids. I could work on projects I still wanted to work on. I just didn't have that down, like crash of like, oh, I just need to come down. And there is a small amount of caffeine in Qualia. There's 90 milligrams per the full dose.
Yeah.
We do also offer a caffeine-free version for those that are completely sensitive to caffeine and or want to get their caffeine sources other places, because we do have people that still just want to have that coffee because they love that flavor. Yeah. And they just love that in their lives. But you want to, again, and cycling is important, especially with caffeine. And we talk about this with all of our products. We recommend cycling, not only all of our products, but everything. And caffeine, especially for heavy coffee drinkers, you want to give your system a chance to rest and relax. And this is the analogy that we like to give is for working out, for exercising. You don't want to go to the gym every day. Like, for working out, your body needs that time to rest and recuperate. Like, that's when your body is building those muscles and resting. You need to balance the strenuous activity of that, and then give your body the rest and downtime it needs to recover and to rebuild and to rest. So we not only recommend you cycle our products, but we recommend cycle just everything that you consume in your life. Caffeine's a big one. You want to give yourself some days off, and then usually once a quarter, we recommend at least taking like a week off, like, to give your body a chance to rest and find that balance again.
Wow. And when we do that, when we cycle off those things, what happens internally? Like, what happens neurochemically?
It's giving a chance to rest and repair. So your system still has those ingredients in it. They don't go away magically the day off you have, but it's giving a chance to give a system a chance to recover, recuperate, not get desensitized to them, but build that resiliency and capacity building within that system. Because the goal is not just to make you go to 100 every day, but it's to increase the capacity of your system and resilience of the system. And this is incredibly important in today's, sorry about that. I'm going to turn my iPad off because it keeps talking to me here. Just having the strength and health of a system is really tested, especially now when it's presented with something that it needs to react to. So whether it's a virus coming into your system that your system has to react to and respond to, or the stress of this virus and everything happening in our world coming in your system and how you react and respond to that. The health and well-being side of that is having the capacity to be resilient to things that are allowed to come into your system. So it's not just making your system to fight off everything, but being resilient enough to be able to take on whatever is coming at it. And this is especially relevant in our world today where so much is coming at us.
Yeah. And Ben's bringing up something that my tribe hears me say, but I love it when other scientists talk about it too. It's just the true resiliency that our innate system that God created has. Like, it's designed to re-optimize when we actually allow it to. And supplements like these can really help it. And one of the things I love about Neurohackers too is a lot of supplement companies out there, they you're on it for life. Like, you're you know what I'm saying, like you're at high doses for life, and that's how they're making money. But that's very different with you guys, like that you really do go into a maintenance mode, where over time you still have your customers, but it's fewer orders. And of course, then we become believers, and then we buy other things. So, which is what you ultimately want. You want lifers that really get results. So I would love for you to talk about a couple of your clients. You can use pseudonames if you'd like, but I would love for you to share a couple of the stories of some of the transformations that you've seen from things.
Sure. Yeah. One of the really fun parts about my job is getting to connect and talk to customers, whether it's online and the reviews that they send us, or especially at trade shows, which are all canceled right now. But hearing the first person experience of not only the people on them, but one of the other really fun things is hearing from the spouses and partners and family members of people on them. Like, we have so many people that come up to us and tell us that they bought this product for their kids, and they absolutely just saved their college careers. Like, they were just overstressed out and going down the spiral of not being able to complete their work and focus. And I had the last show we were at, I think it was in London. I had like 3 people right in a row that just came up to me. They're all parents of college age kids, and just said the same story over and over of this absolutely just saved my college son or daughter's academic career. They're on the verge of just burnout and dropping out, and just thank you for that. The other really fun thing is hearing from different walk of life and professions of people. So we have the business leaders and the finance and the CEOs and entrepreneurs, and they came to us very quickly when we first started because they were looking for something like this. Yeah. The other thing that we found a very natural and early connection to was musicians and artists and producers and things like that. And they would describe their experiences with our products in saying the same thing, but in a unique language that's all their own. So whereas I would say it like wiped out my procrastination and I could just get so much more done, we'd have these artists and producers tell us it would quiet or silence their inner critic, which I just loved. It's like such a beautiful way to say the same thing, like these thoughts and things that were in their heads, holding them back from just creating the work that they wanted to create. Now we're just able to do that. And I love hearing those different sides of the same coin, that's perspective in these languages that are native and unique to, all those artists and things like that. So those are the really fun things, is hearing the same thing just told in a unique language in a different way. But it's phenomenal to hear, so many amazing stories of people that wanted to get off these terrible medications and find something healthier, and just seeing their lives being held hostage and ruined, but not being able to do anything about it, and then finding healthier solutions to do that. It's phenomenal, and it moves you.
Yeah. I'm curious, is there, because most of us are entrepreneurially focused here on this podcast, I'm curious if you have one specific entrepreneur story that pops into your mind that you could share about the difference that it made for one person.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one guy, I think he was from England as well. He has just a phenomenal story of it. And it's really, he just boiled it down to investment in himself, like, because our products are not cheap. And if you see their products, and he boiled it down to what he was able to get done in his job, which then translated him to getting promoted, then getting to the CTO position. He was a technical worker at this company. And he found that with our products, he was able just to focus and get so much more done and get all these projects completed on time, early, under budget, and which then translated directly to him getting promoted, which then translated to this massive confidence boost, that he had, that was getting all the stuff done. And all these, again, so much of our lives are not just one thing, like all these things are interconnected. So he just saw these kind of dominoes falling to where his life was more in order. He was getting his work done. It was translating to him feeling better about himself, getting his health in line, which translated to this confidence boost, which translated to he got promoted to eventually CTO, and he was just making like 5 times more money, than he was doing. So he mapped this whole thing out in this review. It's just phenomenal about the investment of, this is what I paid for this product, and here's kind of where it came out in the end of, like, my ROI increase was, thousands of percent higher, because he's in this place that he wanted to get to, but was struggling in his technical career to get there. And the work was his own, his sister was doing, but he attributed a lot to the feelings and the quality that he got from our products, which it was phenomenal to hear those stories.
Yeah. Very encouraging. So I would love for you to share too, what about, like, I know I was in this place where I was like, oh, I don't want chemical alteration, so
Yeah.
Talk about the naturalness of the product and how it's derived. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, we're fully transparent on our formulations. We want you to know absolutely everything you're putting in your body and exactly how much. So we don't do formulations that have ingredient panels that are patented or that are closed, so you don't know how much or what you're getting. And we post and publish the research on everything we do, so you can see exactly what's in it, and we can tell you every ingredient, the research behind it, what it does, how it interacts with other ingredients. We do that. And one of the things we saw and knew and believed to be possible going into this was there's so much possible with natural ingredients that are found in nature and plants and in amino acids and all these chemicals and elements that was out there. The challenge with our current pharmaceutical bioengineer FDA marketplace and business landscape is to get anything through the FDA.
Yeah.
If you want to create a drug, the cost to do so is in upwards of $1 billion plus, just to get through phase 3 clinical trials. So the investment is massive. The only way to feasibly and financially recoup that cost is if you have a patented single molecule that you can own the patent on for the next 60 years to recoup that cost on the other end. So the only drugs being examined and studied at that level, at that cost, are these single molecule pharmaceutical tweaks that they can come up with. The business model drives that, which is sad. And it's sad and it's frustrating because one of the things we believe is the challenge or the solution to the health problems that you're experiencing are probably not going to be found in a single molecule solution that's not found in nature and it's not found in your body. Like right. These are all things that are outside of the system.
Right.
And they work to do specific intended effects, but they do so only targeted at that single effect. And then they come with the 90 seconds of commercial or 90 seconds of problems and side effects that you hear about on every commercial that's on TV.
Yes.
10 to 15 seconds of what it does and all these disclaimers.
45 seconds of how it will harm you. Yes.
Exactly. Which then they create another product to deal with all those side effects kind of thing. So there's a recursion of that model. We knew and believe that the research, there is still a ton of good research out there on these natural ingredients and these molecules that are found in nature. We just did the work of synthesizing all that. So one of the other special secret sauce things of Neurohacker is being able to pull in from a very, very wide range of domains and expertise this research. So not just biochemical, but psychological and all these different domains of things, and pull all these in to truly understand what these natural ingredients are there, how they affect different pathways in the brain, how we can combine multiple ingredients together to either synergistically enhance one another, or we also have some there that synergistically regulate one another. So it works for a port, and then this other ingredient will help down-regulate that. And this is all by design to have like stop gaps and limits and things like that. And just including, and it's not to say we're completely against synthetic molecules. There's some that are out there that do phenomenal work. But we believed and found to be very successful. There's a ton of natural ingredients that are out there that can and do this work amazingly. And as I mentioned earlier, sadly, we're not being able to get what we need from our soil, from our food, just due to the modern factory farming of how things are grown today. The soil is overgrown. It's not replenished with the minerals and the nutrients we need. And just the modern practices we have there just leave our food that we're getting nutriently neglected. Like we're just, which is hard and sad and frustrating. Yeah. This is where supplementation can be important, to give yourself what your body needs and wants to do the work that it needs to do.
Yeah, it makes me want to go into the whole patterning of our soil, but that's a different podcast. But it's so funny how God from the beginning said, let the soil rest for a year, every 7 years, so that you can have the nutrients, but we don't do that. And we're wondering why we're having problems here. I want to address the elephant in the room. And that is, wait a minute, you guys, are you talking about like, is this like marijuana? Is this like drug? Like, is this going to make me high? Like, I know that's probably a thought that's rolling around in people's mind. So I do want to remind people about whatever, everybody had that same conversation about CBD about a year ago, right? Oh, what's going to go on? And then now, everybody's kind of like, oh, they've separated the bad from the good. And I hate to call it bad and good, but I've separated the psychogenic from the actual proprietary or part of the plant that does benefit you and all the receptors. So no, you don't get high. You don't feel anything other than the natural benefit of the plant, which is how God intended it. If you chew a pot leaf, you don't get high either. So you get the good benefit and you don't get the bad. So I'd love for you to just chat about that, just so that we can make sure people understand that this is what it is. There's a big push toward psychogenic plant medicine within these big entrepreneur groups going down to Costa Rica and doing all this stuff. And so I just want to assure people the difference between that.
For sure.
And you guys.
Yeah. One of the most common pieces of feedback we hear is when they take our product, specifically Qualia, the thing they'll sell is like most of the time, which is phenomenal, but it's also, I'll get to the hard part later. The phenomenal thing is they tell us, I just feel more like myself, which is awesome. And it's again, they feel more like themselves, not encumbered by the stress of their world. Because these things help the chemicals and the formulation helps reduce the stress, and everyone's overstressed these days. And it helps you feel more like you want to feel. Again, people get this from their coffee. They feel more alert, they feel more focused, but they don't feel like they've been hijacked or jittery or overtaken. Like it's still themselves, and they get this like more like themselves, which is phenomenal to hear. It's one of those hard things to sell though, because you can't sell a product that goes, here, take this and you'll feel like yourself. Like people already think they feel like themselves all the time. And this is that state of you're living in your body and you don't know what you don't know. And this kind of goes back to the very first thing we talked about with the entrance to neurohacking, things like that. Talking to people who get a hold of their diet when they start like on a paleo or a keto diet, and then they realize like, oh my God, I feel 180 degrees different than I normally do when I was just eating bad food and just eating like crap. And they get this sense of, oh, this is possible. Like it's still you, it's still yourself, but you feel completely different when you take responsibility and take control over what you're putting in your body and how that affects all your systems and how that affects how you perform and how you feel. So this is really important for us. We don't want to hijack you, make you something else, take you out of that. We want to make you fully who you are, so you're able to show up more present, more alive, more fully, and do the work that's most important to you in this world. Because that's really what this world needs right now. And this is why we started doing what we're doing. Like we believed the world needs you to show up as yourself fully and give yourself to the world and give yourself to your work that you're passionate about, that you can do in this world. That's what's going to get us these solutions we need to solve the massive problems that this world is facing. And we saw the chemicals that people were turning to just weren't cutting that. Like it's a Band-Aid solution with horrible, horrible side effects, and it wasn't going to do that. We want you to feel, like yourself, not hijacked, not overwhelmed. One of our newest products, we have a energy drink. This is our box of new energy drinks, which is phenomenal. And I personally can't drink any energy drinks. Like the smallest sip of a Red Bull, Monster Energy, I'm hyper, I'm jittery, I'm just like want to crawl out of my skin.
Yes, exactly.
Terrible. I just hate the way it feels. And I just never drank them. And every one I've tried like the smallest sip is terrible. This one, again, designed specifically for that mental energy that we want to drive. It's like a 2-ounce shot, you drink it, I just feel phenomenal. And this one I particularly love for energy and motivation for working out. Like I just have all this mental energy, and we're starting to see all these athletes and bodybuilders and trainers and sports people now who have taken supplements for their bodies and their muscles for decades and years, and some harmful steroids and things like that, and some, very good things, amino acids and creatine and stuff like that. And they get what they put in their body affects how they work out. And now they're starting to come around to, oh, I should be taking something, to take care of my brain as mine. And what they're realizing is so much of your physical potential and your physical workout is mental. like how hard you push yourself, how well you're able to focus on the training and the learning and the discipline of the workouts you need to do. And then also how much that shows up as focus and drive and motivation in the actual performance and of the sport, the training side and the performance side. And all of that is mediated by the cognitive performance of your brain. So we're starting to see them not easily, but get it more so than other people that aren't used to taking like all these supplements. Like they're just like, oh, I've been taking all this stuff for my body for decades. I should be taking something for my mind. And it clicks with them because it's kind of an easy transition for them. But seeing how that translates to how you perform, how you feel, how you react, like that's, and again, as you mentioned, it's the beautifully designed system that knows what it needs to do. We want to just support that so it does it at the level that you want to perform at.
I love this. Thank you so much, because it's all about optimization, and that's what this series is all about. You know, you can continue it at average if you want.
Yep.
But you're there because exactly what you described. You wake up, you feel tired, you have to drink coffee, and then you feel awake but jittery, and then you go through your day kind of in that. We call it the sympathetic, right? We're in the sympathetic system all day long, the push, the drive, the hustle, the pushing energy. And then you take the glass of wine to try to get rid of that pushing energy. And then you sit down and then you're exhausted because then your system lets go. Yep. That's not how God intended. Like God intended optimization, like wake up ready, like excited, ready to go, fully focused, fully present through the day. I know a lot of us are like, I want to be more present. I feel like I can't be present with my kids or present at work. I'm being this tug of war. So I love that we're supporting in a way that allows you to return to the optimal state. That it's almost like the optimal state had a bunch of blankets or layers put on top that were never intended to be there. And this allows it to kind of rip away, and revealed inside is this optimal version of yourself. And then the beauty of that with my listeners is that they have such big callings and vision and impact desires. And when you optimize like this, you actually get to see that come to fruition.
And that's, right? That's exactly what we want as well. Like we want that beauty, that desire to make an impact, the desire to build, to create. I believe that's like, I wholeheartedly believe that's in all of us. Is to whatever that may be, whether that's art, that's music, that's business, that's this project, this thing that connects one another. These things are in us and we want to bring them out into the world. And the way we can do that is to claim ownership over that, over our lives, and the responsibility to take care of ourselves so we can do the work that we want to do. And so much of this is not just when we talk about the diet and the caffeine and the things that we put in our system that regulate this. There's a huge part of this too that we don't necessarily talk about, which is the diet of the things we put into our mind, into our eyes, into our ears, the things that we listen to. When we wake up in the morning, especially now, this is huge. When you wake up in the morning and there's this fear and uncertainty in the air of, what's going on in the world, and you turn on the news and you start your day like that, or you start your day on social media, just seeing what these politicians said and what this country did and what this stuff, and there's the stock market's tanking and all this stuff. And you start your day like that, you're directly into that sympathetic system where you're in that fight or flight. You set the tone for your day, and your body's in that stress, and you're reacting to that the entire day long, and you don't get out of that system. So it's super important to not only very closely pay attention to what you're putting in your stomach and to fuel your system, but what you're putting in the rest of your body, like what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're thinking, all these things, and especially how you start your day and how you continue to the day, like just sets the tone. I'm pushing this message really hard to our community right now, especially just in this time of stress and uncertainty and fear, and everything's changing so fast. You want to know what's going on. So you have that desire to turn on the news, and then you become glued to it, especially as people, now that they're home, because they want to know what's going on. But doing that first thing in the morning just robs your entire energy in your system to be in that fight or flight mode. You can't think straight. You don't have any focus because you're in that shallow breathing. You're in that mode of just fear and constriction. So one of the things that I've found tremendously powerful for me is getting my morning routine dialed in and starting out. First thing for me, meditation, like just jumping out of bed and just going straight into meditation, getting my breathing, my self-centered, and usually 99% of the time from that, I'm just flooded with creativity and ideas and all these things. So I go straight into like some journaling just to like write these things down and capture that stuff. And then setting that as the tone for the day is 180 degrees different than getting up and picking up my phone and going on Facebook or social media or something and just, seeing the state of the world and chaos and whatever it is, even if it's just my friends, having that, having your attention being taken from you and put in that reactive mode it just robs you of just everything. Like, it just robs you of so much stuff. So we need to really be careful, especially in this time that you guys are listening to this now with the COVID-19 and all this stuff, how you spend your day, how you set your intentions for that day, how you spend your energy and your time. Just be very cautious and careful and deliberate about what you choose to let in and when you choose to let it in. I especially encourage people, now that if you're working from home, turn off the TV for several hours, if not all day, if you can. Get off social media for a couple hours. Get outside, get sunlight. You have to get some exercise. To get through this stressful time, it's not only your body needs sunlight and exercise and all this stuff, but your mind needs a break from this constant input of noise and stress and uncertainty and fear. And again, it's all connected. We're all one system, and all these things are just so important.
Yeah, you're preaching my love language. My tribers, part of the Epic Success Academy, use this all the time with their neuro coaching. So I love the different messages from all the messengers that are connected in one voice, and it's beautiful. Yeah. In the show notes, we're going to link up to all things Neurohacker, and you can check out everything. Is there any last thoughts you'd like to leave with the listeners as they're really taking in, probably for the first time, this idea, and just the last thought you'd like to leave?
Sure. I want to link you guys to a guide. We have a foundational guide to neurohacking, which is talking about the foundational basics. So this is kind of we have a very cool graphic in there. It has like the 4 quadrants of your life. So your body, your mind, your environment, your relationships. And it just talks about, like, these are the 20% of the things that give you 80% of the results. Then here's the 20% that's the optimization above that you can do. And really, you want to start focusing on that 20%, the foundational work, to give your system a chance to have the most benefits, and then tune into that optimization things of supplements or all these other tools and technologies that are out there that can help increase that. But really picking an area of your life, and part of this can be overwhelming because there's so many things you can or think you should be doing. And if you feel like you're not doing any of them or all of them, it's kind of an overwhelming place to start. My recommendation, best advice, is just kind of pick one area and start with that. Because again, once you get that toehold into the feeling of, oh, this works. Like I did this thing, I started this practice, I did something here, and I noticed a dramatic and noticeable effect in my life and how I did that. And once you can internalize that and feel that and own that, you can then translate that to, all right, what's next? Like, what can I take on next? Like, what else is possible in my world that I didn't think was possible at all, because you're kind of in that state of chaos and flux and just kind of muttering through as being average is kind of what you said. So I'll link you guys to that guide. It's completely free. Cool. But we want people to really take control, take responsibility, take ownership of what is theirs to do, so they can have that optimized life, so they can produce that amazing work that's within themselves, whatever that may be, because that's where we want them, that's how we want them, where we need them to show up in this world, so we can have more fully present, more fully alive, more fully aware people to solve this world's problems, because we got some big problems to solve and we have some big challenges to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. If I have some of my tribers, which I bet I do, that are saying like, no, I want to start on this stuff now, can we give them some kind of a little bit of a discount, or just some way that they can feel a little bit loved up on during this time?
Yeah, if you want, I'll create a unique coupon for you, and Perfect. You can put it in the show notes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Ben, thank you so much for spending the time today, for enlightening my tribe on just another modality to optimize their mind so that they can truly train their brain to transform their life and business. So thank you for being here.
You're very, very welcome. Appreciate it.
Well, that was a powerful episode. So I'm sure questions you have, and that is okay. So I wanted to open your eyes to what some of the high-performing entrepreneurs are using right now in terms of additional support to really hone in on that focus and on that energy. We, of course, have the links below. If you have any questions, feel free to DM, and know that really this is just a process of optimization. So I love how Ben talked about you have these quadrants, mind, body. So we've got, how we're eating, how we're walking, how we're moving our body, how we're optimizing our system in terms of nutrients, supplements, and then optimization. So start, right? We've been talking a lot about rising during this season, pivoting into the best version of yourself and your personal leadership, and then just starting. So I hope this episode has encouraged you to just start. If it's just eating more blueberries, then that's the thing. If it's just walking a little more, that's the thing. But knowing that you are really, truly created to have an optimal, energetic, focused, impact-driven system that supports you. All right, that's what I have for you this week on the series, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.